Good evening. You are listening to the Fumblerooski podcast by Power 88 and Fans Only Sports Network. I'm Adam Wright here with CJ Medieros, Justin Tucker. We apologize that last Thursday we did not have any co-hosts besides myself. It was very busy. It was move out day for all of us. I was the only one who was available because I was able to move out early, but we're here now, and we were able to get you guys a couple of guests. We had Robert, we had who a lot of you know, and we also had Max Cates, who is a NBA guy. We were able to talk a little bit of Celtics, a little bit of a switch up from our usual football, but and we do have some football now, and we do have some big news with we'll talk about Tom Brady's agreement to join Fox Sports. But first, I want to get to a certain starting caliber corner who is hitting the open market thanks to the New York Giants. So James Bradberry, who was the cornerback for the New York Giants, he gets released, and they were trying to trade him, and apparently they had several offers, and they were all good offers. But the problem was they weren't able to come out with a restructured deal for Bradberry because they believed he was overpaid. And now, so he hits the open market, and any team can go out and try and get him. So what do you guys think of this corner hitting the open market? Where do you guys think he should go?
CJ, you can go first. CJ?
Oh God, I think we lost CJ, but Tuck, you go first.
All right. My James Bradberry, an all-pro caliber corner, his first year in New York. I respect him. I think of him a great deal. Pro Bowl caliber corner still to this day. I don't understand why they're not willing to pay him, considering he was one of the main reasons that defense in 2020 was as good as it was. I find it disrespectful that the Giants are willing to move on from him so quickly. And whoever gets him is getting a true proven starting caliber cornerback. And yeah, hopefully he'll find a home soon.
Where do you think he should go?
That's tough because most of the landing spots are almost gone anyhow due to the draft and free agency. So it's going to be hard to figure out where he'll fit. But we talked about it earlier. If there was one place he could go to, the only problem is money, of course. I would like him in New England, but I'm not sure he'll fit in New England due to cap purposes. And I'm not sure they're willing to pay the amount of money it would take to get him there.
All right, so Tuck likes New England as a possible destination. What about CJ? What do you think? Where do you think he should go?
Possible thought for me, at least, Adam, is the Vegas Raiders. Now, look, if you look at their division, the AFC West, that's a scary, scary division. I mean, think about it. You got the Chargers, who have Justin Herbert and Mike Williams and Keenan Allen, who just bombs away all day. And then, look at the Chiefs. No more Tyreek Hill. They still have Travis Kelce. And, of course, Mahomes, big arm, really accurate. That's also worrying. And now, finally, you have the Broncos, who just secured a franchise quarterback in Russell Wilson. And on top of that, they have guys like Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton. So when you look at that, I mean, the Raiders aren't bad on offense, but their defense, who's their corner? Their corners are Rocky Ya-Sin and I think Trayvon Mullen. I mean, they're both fine, but they're far from number ones. Now, I'm not entirely sure what Vegas's cap situation is, but I think it would be a really smart move for them to go after Bradberry, especially, put him on Keenan Allen, put him on Jerry Jeudy. He is a true top 5, maybe top 10 corner. We could debate that later, but if the money fits, Vegas should be making every push to get themselves a defensive weapon for an increasingly scary AFC West.
Yeah, I really like that you mentioned the Raiders and not your Patriots. And I like that you're an unbiased Patriots fan. But, that is an interesting destination because that they do have Rocky Ya-Sin, but he's a starting caliber corner, but he's not really a number one. And you can make a case that James Bradberry really isn't either, at least not one of the elites. But he's a corner who, if you add him in the right scheme, put him in with a lot of man coverage, then this is a guy who can play at an all-pro level. And he was a big part of that Giants defense, as Tuck mentioned. So I really like that destination. But I'm going to be a biased Patriots fan and mention my New England Patriots, because that is a team that actually needs a corner. And if Belichick were good at manipulating the cap, he would do anything he could to go and get this guy, because they are really, really lacking in that area. And as much as I love Malcolm Butler, from my childhood, watching that Super Bowl 49 game-sealing interception, that was highlight of my sports Patriots life. But he's just not that guy. He was good in 2015. He was good in 2016. He's not that anymore. And he might be a productive corner for us, but he probably won't be anything more than a number 2 at best. So if you could find a way to clear up some cap space to get James Bradberry, I would do it. I just know they won't. They won't.
Well, Adam, you have to remember, also speaking as a Pats fan, we still have to sign our rookies. So I feel like that should take precedent first before we go about adding anyone else. Furthermore, I just happen to have the Raiders roster up, and here's they have at corner. How many of these guys can be a good number 1? Anthony Averett, Nate Hobbs, Crayvon LeBlanc, Trayvon Mullen, Darius Phillips, Amik Robertson, and Rock Ya-Sin. I mean, look, Nate Hobbs is sneaky underrated. LeBlanc is kind of hot and cold. Mullen and Sin, I think, would be the starters, or Ya-Sin, I think it's pronounced. But no. I think they need James Bradberry. And like I said, when you look at the AFC West, Bradberry to the Raiders, while slept upon, I think makes all the sense in the world.
I agree with you. I agree. I'm with you saying that that is a great destination for James Bradberry. The Raiders need James Bradberry, and James Bradberry needs the Raiders. I think that's a great match. But I'm gonna say it's still a fit. Take out all the financial stuff for the New England Patriots, and I think James Bradberry is a great fit for New England. You put him in with man coverage. What does that sound like? What does that sound like? A guy who primarily is a man coverage guy. That sounds like Stephon Gilmore, who was a great fit with New England once they figured out how to use him. I'm not sitting here and trying to compare him in terms of quality of play to Stephon Gilmore, who is an all-pro caliber corner. But in terms of style of play, they are very, very similar, because man is where James Bradberry thrives.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all well and good, but you're like, oh, all cap aside. Yeah, but cap's a pretty big deal. I mean, I know people that think the cap is not real, and it infuriates me. It's like that's a thing. And look, would I like James Bradberry? Oh, absolutely I would. But I mean, I know it's not going to happen. Financially, we are in no situation to get into a bidding war. And I mean, there's like 7 teams that are interested. So I don't know.
Yeah, but I think so the salary cap is real, and we know that there are some people who we might know who believe the salary cap is kind of a myth. It's like Santa Claus, but it is real. Here's what I will say about it, though. It is easily manipulated. And you see a lot of teams, you look at the New Orleans Saints, without even releasing a player, they were able to go from dead last in cap space to almost first, basically overnight. What does that tell you about the salary cap?
Adam, you do realize they're literally just taking that future cap crisis and they're just kicking the can further down the road by extending all these players. That's what they do. They think these players to like extensions, and if you keep them around long enough, there will be a cap issue. And there was like, oh, Belichick's not good at manipulating the cap. It's like that, you can't really manipulate it. The bill has to come due at some point, and if you just keep kicking the can down the road, the worse it's going to get. There's a term for that. It's called delaying the inevitable.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but
So would
I
you
think
rather suffer through it now or have it be twice as bad in like 2 years' time?
that's a lot. It's a lot different though when you spread it out over a longer period of time though. It's like, yeah, you are still paying that amount of money, but it's still you're stretching it out over over more years rather than putting it in that.
But that's still
one-
more people to
one
pay,
spot.
though. That's the thing. You're still paying these people, and you have to keep in mind when you extend these not so great players on bloated contracts. Yeah, it stretches them out, but they also eat up valuable roster spots.
Yeah, but there's players on the roster who you really don't need to keep, and
Nelson Aguilar.
James Bradberry. James Bradberry is a player who is worth keeping.
Y'all wouldn't have these problems if y'all just kept JC Jackson. But
I
JC Jackson would garner more money than Bradberry. And keep in mind, we offered Jackson the contract, or not as much as the Chargers, but we offered him a fair amount. I don't know.
I agree. They should have brought back JC Jackson, but JC Jackson is asking for way too much money, and I think he's a serviceable number one corner. Now, James Bradberry is also a serviceable number one, but he's not going to go for the same price tag as JC.
Okay. I'm not going to argue for JC Jackson. I just know he's not a serviceable.
Tucker.
He is a number one corner.
Tucker, we are all aware that Adam doesn't like JC Jackson. Well, you know this is not. There's no new ground being broken.
Guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I'm just not a JC Jackson guy.
James Bradberry.
By the way, you were willing to overpay him. Apparently,
I wasn't willing to overpay him.
You literally just said we should have brought him back.
I think they should have brought him back, but for the right price. But
that's not. What? That's
you're
not
You're right. I don't want him back because he wants to be overpaid, and you're right. He wants to be overpaid, and we're not willing to pay him what he's not worth. And I just I think he's a number one, but he's not in the upper echelon of number one corner. He's not. If you mention him in the same breath as the Jalen Ramseys and the Jair Alexanders of the world, then you are a delusional Patriots fan. That's the way I see it. He had a great year.
Chargers fan.
He had a great year. I'll say that. He had a great year. And he had it was in that 1 year was in that echelon. But
didn't he have like 9 picks the year before last or something like that?
He has racked up a lot of interceptions. But you bring up this point a lot, CJ, and I'll credit you for this. Usually that means that they're not afraid to throw your way.
I did say
we can mention Trevon Diggs, who was looked at as one of the best corners in the game. But then when you actually see him, when you actually see him play, you're like, is this the guy? Is this him?
Yeah, Trevon Diggs, like we all know, he's either going to get a pick six or get burnt for a 50-yard touchdown. There's no in between. And while Jackson's coverage skills are better, it's just, and Adam, you said that I said this, like they are not afraid to throw on him. Because, I mean, and also another reason, I just want to say one last thing, why J.C. Jackson isn't worth it. His kryptonite is Stephon Diggs. And it just so happens we play Stephon Diggs twice a year. So it's like, yeah. You can't even lock up our division rival's best receiver, and you want over $80 million. Just no.
Yep, and just wait until he has to cover Jalen Waddle or Tyreek Hill. That's going to be even worse.
Oh, that's why he's not here.
Oh, wait, no. That was in the East. He's in the West now.
Oh, yeah, where he's going to have to cover Devontae Adams.
I'm not saying it's going to be better. I'm just saying he doesn't have to cover Tyreek Hill right now.
Right, because Tyreek Hill is now gone. He's now East. And, yeah, that's I don't know. But we do have to move on. Next, we are going to talk about the big news of the day, which is Tom Brady's new deal with Fox Sports and what it might mean for Tom Brady's future in the NFL on the playing field, not in the booth. We'll get to that next. This is the Fumblerooski podcast.
Here's Edelman broken up, and the pass is no sign yet. Edelman comes down with a football. They're saying it's a catch. This is caught. Diggs! Sideline! Touchdown! Unbelievable!
Welcome back to the Fumblerooski podcast. I'm Adam Wright, Justin Tucker, CJ Medieros on this fine Tuesday night. So, Tom Brady is yet again involved in headlines so far this offseason. And so what happened was he has reached an agreement with Fox Sports for when he retires to be the lead color analyst on their team, along with their play-by-play guy. I'm forgetting what his name was, but he was he was second fiddle to Joe Buck before he left. And now here we are. Tom Brady is going to be, whenever he retires, whenever that may be. And so here's my thing. And I'm going to bring up a little bit of a taste of what my take on this is that, do you guys remember when Drew Brees, right before Drew Brees retired, he signed a deal with NBC Sports, and everybody was wondering, could he be done soon? In that very next season, right after that season, he retired. So could we be seeing the same thing here? I'll ask you guys, what are your thoughts on this?
CJ?
Oh, thanks. Good for him. I mean, Brady signed a 10-year, $375 million deal, and that deal is literally worth more than Tom Brady's ever earned in the NFL. He's earned just over $300 million. But part of me really doesn't like it. And I mean, personally, I believe he might retire after this season because he always said the dream was to play to 45. And I feel like his wife, Giselle, is like, all right, you're 45 now. That's enough. Retire for real. And, then he'll go to the booth. But honestly, can you guys really see Tom Brady as a broadcaster? I've looked at his media career. His acting is all right. I mean, I know it's different than acting. But I'll remember, I think there was a time he was on Saturday Night Live in the 2010s early, and it was not good. I mean, look, this is nothing against Brady, but he's just an awkward guy. He's not really comfortable in front of a camera. He's just, or maybe he is, I don't know. But if we're getting Tampa Tom, I feel like that's obviously a lot better. But I can't see him in the booth. I can't. I hope he proves me wrong because he's my favorite player ever. But he's just kind of an awkward guy. Even Tampa Tom, he's cooler now, but he's cringier too. So I can already picture this as a "how do you do, fellow kids" moment.
All right, Tuck.
It's funny that Patriots fans are calling him cringe when he inevitably moves into the broadcasting booth, but I don't think it will be cringe. I think it'll be more like Tony Romo, less like Joe Buck. I think it'll be better for the sport more so than the way Joe Buck did it. I think the way he analyzes games is going to be more of the esque of Tony Romo. He'll be able to diagnose and play calls and be able to tell you what he's thinking ahead of time. I think that's the way he's going to run it. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, okay.
Yeah, we had two CJs for a second. He got
guys. I'll tell you right now.
kicked out.
It's kicking me out. Internet.
Continue, Tuck.
But I don't think he'll be awkward. I think maybe his first year might be a little awkward because he's no longer on the field, even though it might kill him to be on the field again. But I think after his first year, he'll be more comfortable and he'll be able to be a better analyst and be able to work up in the booth just fine. I think people just need to give him time in order for his greatness to show in the booth and let it flourish, let his intelligence flourish to the fans out there, and sooner or later it'll be fine. They gave him a 10-year contract worth $375 million. I believe he'll be worth it in the end, but give him a year or two to get adjusted to the booth instead of being on the field all the time. Tom Brady's old enough to realize that he needs to start getting those AARP checks. But again, I think it's about time he actually does become an analyst and diagnose the plays from the booth instead of on the field.
So first, I want to start off by asking, how long do you guys think it's going to be before this guy watching all of these next guys playing, watching the Mitch Trubisky's of the world, watching the Daniel Joneses of the world, analyzing those pick sixes before he says, God, let me get in there for these bums. I'm better than these guys, and I'm sitting here explaining why that happened. God. But
Hmm.
like in all seriousness, I look at this and I say, this does, he's going into his age 45 season, which is what I've said he always wanted to do. And, I did talk to you guys. In the direct aftermath of this, of his retirement, I said, this just doesn't make sense. He wanted to play through age 45 and he's going to quit a year before that. This just doesn't work. And then he came out of retirement, and now he has a deal for after he retires, which now he's going to be 45. His deal is up. Once he's in, his deal is up after this season in Tampa, and now he has a deal with Fox Sports. It's interesting because I'm thinking about it and I'm saying, could this really be his last year? I really could see this being his final year now, because you look at what's going on with this. The stars are all aligning perfectly for this to be his final year. He wanted to play till his age 45 season. His last season in Tampa Bay is this year, so he's in a contract year, and he has a deal with Fox Sports. And usually when you have an agreement on a deal, I don't think that it's going to that deal is going to be like, okay, you can just quit whenever and you can join us whenever. No, it's a concrete 10-year, $375 million deal. Those deals don't just get agreed upon just like, okay, you can quit whenever you feel like it. No, this looks like it's a planned thing, and I could be wrong, but I think this could be, and I hate to say it because I love watching Tom Brady play year in, year out and beat Father Time, but I think this could be his last year in playing football at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I personally, like I said, I saw this. I always thought he was going to be done after this season because, like I said, he's always said, "Oh, I want to play to age 45," and so yeah, he's going to be 45, and then after this season, I think he's going to go in the booth. And I mean, it's another thing where I think this is going to be, and I say this half joking, half not, where I think Giselle is going to put his foot down when he's analyzed this. He's like, "Oh my God, look at the Mitch Trubisky's and the Daniel Joneses. I want to go back out there. I'm still good." And she'll just be like, no, we made a deal.
That's what I'm saying. Like, he's going, like, for a guy who has been thought to wanting to go out kicking and screaming. This isn't really the best career choice for him if he wants to leave the game at some point, because he's going to look at these players and he's like, I'm better than this guy. Like, is this Sam Darnold? Why is he starting in this league? I could come out there and I could play quarterback for the Panthers better than him and take him to a Super Bowl. Maybe not, but he'll think that. I'll tell you that much. It's just, there's going to be so many bums out there that he's going to have to analyze and explain why they threw their fourth pick of the half, and he's going to say, God, please get me out of here and get me a uniform, get me a deal, get me back on that field.
No. He should, start collecting those AARP checks. Sooner or later, he won't be able to do that. He's too old.
Don't you get AARP when you're 50, though, or something like that?
I don't know. Sometimes
he's getting close to that age.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I will grant you. He does have like 5 or technically 6 years because he's going to turn 45, I think, in August.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I'm just saying, like, ARP doesn't happen yet. I thought it was like when you were 50, but whatever.
My point is, it's about time for him to go in the booth and start analyzing these plays and explain to us why it happened, instead of trying to go out there and it's like, I know how it happened. Let me play better than this, as Adam says, bum, and let me show this team that I can lead them to a Super Bowl. After the season, it won't happen. Giselle put her foot down and said, I'm sick and tired of you not being in this household, Tom. Time for you to be an analyst and come home. Stop playing football.
But like, he's still playing football. Or like, excuse me, he's not playing football. He may not be playing football, but he's going to be in the broadcast booth. So this also makes me think, does this guy just hate his family? Like, when he's not playing football, he's just going to go into the booth and analyze it. Like, he's really saying F them kids.
No.
And he's
Brady, obviously, he loves football.
Yeah.
It's his thing, I don't know. I know it's lazy analysis, but that's just what it is. It's like he loves football. I feel like his first love is the game, and I think Giselle understands.
Certainly. All right. Do you guys have any other? This is obviously a big topic, and we'll cover it a little bit more as the summer goes on, and I'm sure more details will come out. We have a Thursday episode. We're going to cover the schedule release. Actually, we might move that to Friday because the schedule release is going to happen at the exact same time where we usually do our episode. So we might just move it just so that we could give you guys our thoughts on the schedule and give you a couple of narratives surrounding that. But we'll get to that. You guys have any thoughts on Tom Brady before we move on to this under the fan box?
No,
not really.
Nothing. All right. So we talked about where we believe James Bradberry should go. Now we want to know where you guys think he should go. We asked you guys on the fan box, where should James Bradberry go after his release? We'll get to that next. Don't go anywhere. This is the Fumblerooski podcast.
Way down the field to Watkins. Sammy Watkins for the touchdown.
Welcome back to the Fumblerooski podcast. I'm Adam Wright, Big Justin, and I went by your name tag.
Yep,
CJ Medieros with you, and we are onto our fan box. So what that is we post a question filter on our Instagram every Monday, and you can respond with hot takes, questions, and more. And we will discuss it on our show and give you a shout out on our podcast. Respond to next week's fan box question to be featured on our show. Now, our question of the week was, where do you want to see James Bradberry go after his release? So, first response is a new responder, Kalen Patel. And I'm guessing this guy is a Cowboys fan because he said them boys. This is an interesting one.
I guess he doesn't believe in Trayvon Diggs.
Or he wants a number 2.
Why would he?
Judging by the Cowboys fans' judgment. But I do like that. I do like the spot. And no disrespect, Kalen, if you're listening, to your Cowboys. I like Trayvon Diggs. I just don't think he's the all-pro that people are describing him as. And the league leader in interceptions. Yes, he led an interception, but that means they're throwing your way a lot. Which is that? Are they really respecting you as that all-pro corner? They're saying, are they really doing that? Because I saw, what was it, Drew Lock? No, it wasn't Drew Lock. Was it Drew Lock or Teddy Bridgewater? They were platooning at quarterback, the Broncos, and whoever player X at quarterback torched that Cowboys secondary, and Trayvon Diggs was in the middle of it. But again, Kalen, no disrespect to your Cowboys. I do have some respect for that Cowboys team, and that is very rare these days. Brian Mucker, who was out tonight, said, come to the other New York team, referring to his New York Jets. And
you know what?
That's not a bad spot.
Why would you want to go to the Jets? I mean, I know they just had a good draft, but I remember reading a report saying how the Jets were in the mix this offseason on every big name free agent. Sometimes even offered more money than other teams, and they just said, no, I don't want to play here because you're the Jets. I feel like it might be more of the same.
It's possible, perhaps, but that is a team that has gotten a lot better, and their reputation this offseason has changed a little bit. That might get all squashed when they go out and they go 4-13 this next season. But they did have a very good draft, and they have some young talent, even aside from this draft. CJ, I know you said the Raiders before, and you did respond with the Raiders. Do you have anything else to add to what you said previously in the show?
Now, if you're on YouTube or Spotify listening to this, please just cycle back to to when I spoke, because I've made my opinion clear.
All right. So Tyson Tate said Minnesota lacks cornerback, would be a good fit with that defense. He does play. So, like I said, he's a good man guy, and Xavier Rhodes back in his prime, going back to that was the last elite corner who played for Minnesota. He really played well in that defense, and Xavier Rhodes was a man coverage guy, so that would be a good fit. But they did address the cornerback position with Andrew Booth, and they added a safety in the first round. So they did work on that secondary. I don't think it's that big of a need, but it would be a good spot. But Sam LaPierre responding for the second week in a row, and he had his spaces between. That at that point where you write out a word and you have spaces, you type it out, but you have spaces between it to make it look cooler. He put Eagles, so E space A space G space. It's an interesting way to put things, and then he put an exclamation point. So guessing big Eagles guy.
I think he's just trying to spell Eagles like in the chant. The Eagles.
Eagle. It's possible.
Yeah, that's what I think he was doing.
I can't believe he actually did the chant. That's you're a Patriots fan and you did that.
But why can't you do a dash though?
I don't know.
That's usually the way you do it when you're spelling things out, is it not?
Or maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Well,
and Sam, I'm not making fun of you. I'm not making fun of it. It's a cool thing. It's better than some people just wrote out the name. That's kind of boring sometimes. But Eagles, Darius Slay, they already have there, who's another guy who plays a lot of man coverage. And so you add him with James Bradberry, good pairing there. You can lock down two of the top receivers on any team that you face, as long as that team isn't like, elite wide receivers. But I like it. Ian, this is a new guy. He said, so Ian Mullern. Mull and then Hearn. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. Let me know in the comments how you pronounce it, Ian. But you said Panthers. Now this is interesting because he started his career with the Carolina Panthers, and he was a serviceable corner. He never really came out like he did with the Giants, but he was solid there. The only issue with the Panthers is that's a team that's already kind of set at the corner position. They have Dante Jackson, who's kind of come out, and they also have J.C. Horn, who they got in the first round of the draft. I know he got hurt and he barely played this past season, but that's a player who could be really good.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and Bryant Johnson. So he had an interesting one, and I kind of like this. So Bryant Johnson, Colts secondary would be impenetrable with him. Think about that for a second. You already have Stephon Gilmore, who's, as I mentioned earlier in the show, he could play. You have the Y, you have the Z, James Bradberry and Stephon Gilmore. Then Kenny Moore, who plays his best football when he's the slot corner. You put him there to play a little bit of zone, and that's a really good secondary. But I really like that plan. That's a good idea if they were to do it. Again, I don't think they need it because they're pretty set at corner, but if they were to add him, that is a really, really good impenetrable secondary, as Bryant Johnson mentioned. What do you guys think?
Oh yeah, that'd be like easily a top 5 corner room.
Absolutely. It would be something.
Where Stephon Gilmore is in his career, to be honest.
I mean, He was decent in Carolina, but hey, if he gets hurt, you're gonna want a guy like Bradberry.
You're taking it year by year at that point. But Stephen Parker said, "I wouldn't mind the Bengals." I also want to point out one thing.
I do.
Oh yeah, of course, of course. Coming from the Ravens,
spoken like a true Ravens fan.
Let Eli Apple get toasted.
Here's the thing.
Wait,
I've also
who's going to
noticed.
toast him? Who's going to toast him? Hollywood Brown?
No. Rashad Bateman for starters.
Bateman.
You want to keep going?
Oh yeah. Oh,
Mark Andrews.
Oh yeah, because he put corners on tight ends. Yeah.
One other thing I want to point out about this fan box, all of these fan box responses, everybody put their own team. Everybody except CJ. Except CJ, but you already talked about your take, because you're a co-host. So you were able to defend your take. Stephen Parker said, I wouldn't mind the Bengals. That is a good landing spot because they did address the spot with adding Daxton Hill, and they added another guy in the second round. I'm forgetting his name. He has two parts to his last name. What is it, CJ?
Oh, Cam Taylor-Britt.
Yeah, I think that's it. Or no, I don't know. I don't know who it. But it was a good.
I thought it was Cam Taylor-Britt, and they got Daxton Hill in the first round.
I think that's what it was. But our next response, it was just a couple minutes ago. I wasn't able to put it into the script. But there were two responses by Nick Normand. So he's a Steelers fan, and again, another guy who's picking his own team. The Steelers would like him. Now that is a team that they don't have their top corner. I'm forgetting his name.
Joe Hayden.
Joe Hayden's gone.
Yeah. You said they don't have their top corner, so I said it because he was gone.
Yeah, and they did add another guy this offseason, but they are going to need to reload at the position if they're looking to be at the very least competitive. They're not the best at the quarterback position, but that is a team that does have some pieces on their roster, and they could look to be at the very least competitive, maybe not contend, but be competitive in the next 1 to 2 years. But I do like him there as a possible spot. He put two responses. So he also put not his own team. He put the Patriots. Patriots would also make a ton of sense. And he put ton in all caps. They need a true outside cover corner, and they don't have that, like I said. Yeah. So they do need. Yeah. And I don't think Jonathan Jones, Malcolm Butler, and Jalen
Jonathan
Mills.
Jones plays slot.
Yeah, Jonathan Jones plays slot.
So but your top two corners, but outside. Oh no!
Sounds like Stephon Diggs is eating all day.
It looks like he was. All right, guys. Well, do you guys have any other thoughts before we end out the show?
Yeah, I just want to add one thing.
Yeah.
So there was this. I'm trying to think of what it was. It was basically Ian Rappaport.
Yep.
Had he was on Pat McAfee's show, and he said that the Packers might trade Jordan Love, and they wouldn't even ask for a first because he's been a disappointment. Second or third. And furthermore, when asked if Jordan Love was in their future plans, it was the Packers GM or majority owner or someone like that said honestly probably said they don't know and they're leaning toward no. So yeah, keep in mind. Can you imagine if Green Bay went wide receiver at that pick? Can you imagine really if they went receiver? Maybe they might have a ring, but no, Green Bay.
They could have traded up to get Justin Jefferson for God's sakes. But
no, they did trade up. They traded up 2 spots, so they got Jordan Love. Yeah. That's the decision that's going to haunt that franchise forever, or at least until Rodgers retires.
Didn't they also? They had the opportunity to get Bateman in that draft.
No, I don't. I think that was a different draft. No, Denzel Mims was there. Yeah, Denzel Mims was there. I mean, he hasn't been big, but he was big then. No, I mean, he was big then. He was ready to be late first, early second rounder.
But again, he's with the Jets, so I don't know if that's him or the Jets.
It's possible, but there's also Elijah Moore, who is in that same draft class, I believe.
No, he was
turned out to be. Was he? I thought he was the same.
He wasn't.
No, he was a rookie last year with Rashad.
Yeah, and Mims was also a rookie, was he?
He was in the 2020 draft, not the
2020 draft, not the 2020. Okay, I had it mixed up. Mixed up. Either way, Elijah Moore has been working out so far. We'll see how long that lasts. Also, Michael Carter worked out, So they haven't been terrible at wide receiver. They've had some good pieces. We'll see.
I'm sorry, did you just say Michael Carter's
out.
a wide receiver?
Yeah,
I said running back.
I could have sworn he's a running back.
Oh, never mind.
Okay.
I said Michael Carter at running back.
All right. Sorry, I was.
Wait.
Oh, by the way, Adam, one more thing. I'm looking at the draft
What's
class. T. Higgins was on the board.
Yeah, but he went in the second round. He wasn't that high of a.
I'm
not trying to say that.
First pick
obviously,
of the second round, and directly after him was Michael Pittman. Was like the first and second picks of the second round. There's no excuse, Packers.
All right, there we go. All right, well, that'll do it for us tonight. Thank you for listening to us. Be sure to tune in to us live Tuesdays and Thursdays on Twitter and Facebook through Fans Only Sports Network. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We also have all our episodes available on Spotify, Spreaker, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, and so much more. Also, be sure to follow our Instagram at Fumblerooski_podcast to keep up with our podcast and the latest coverage on the NFL. Otherwise, we will see you on Thursday. Over and out.